Hello, anyone out there? This is somewhat of a test, but also looking to see who might still be interested in seeing programming on this channel. As you know, we've been off for a while, a lot of technical difficulties going on. But anyway, the old man is back. We're trying to get some new programming on to you, but again, our programs other than this one depends on guests who of tea, whether it be art, anything. We're talking with the administrator of a Facebook, several Facebook foundations and older homes in different states, either ones that are gone from Louisiana, Mississippi, and the South. And we would certainly like to hear from anyone who wants to comment. We're not ready for any type of discourse. We will eventually allow call-ins, but we are interested to see if anyone wants to chat about something. If you put the chat up on any of our pages, Facebook Bob Bockelman, Facebook The Neil Deal, Facebook New Orleans TV Internet Program, or Twitter or LinkedIn. I think those are REVUE, something like that. Most of those it's been a while since I've messaged them. But anyway, if you are out there, please send me a comment, a chat. Say what you. I see we got someone out there. I don't know who that is, but would certainly love to know what he or she might be interested in talking about or seeing on the next coming days, besides myself. If there's anyone out there, please let's hear from you, because we'll just put a chat on your, some kind of text on your platform in which you're seeing this, and let us know what you'd like to see. Because again, we're trying to be here for you. We haven't been real successful all the time recently, but we would like to certainly do whatever we can to bring entertainment programming to the network. If you would like to, like I say, call in and let us know, we'll have that feature again soon. I've got to test the Google Voice since we've changed numbers, but we would love to see if you want anything else that we could offer to you. So you just give us a chat and let us know just a text or what you'd like to see here on the channel. Are you? We've tried several times in the daytime to do chat shows where people call in, but haven't been too successful with that. So we don't know if you like just a talk show on streaming as opposed to on the radio, or whether you also would like to see some of our real programming with regard to other types of services. Again, if you have a talent or know someone with a talent that would like to get some exposure to the audience, they will get appearances on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn and Twitter. Plus, we can actually stream directly to their groups. So if they have whether they have a Facebook group or just followers on their page, we can accommodate that. So that's what's nice about this, the flexibility of them and their viewers not having to come follow us or check out our stations. They can just go to whomever has brought them of interest to the channel, whether it's via any one of those platforms. So if you can, let's talk a little bit about the plantations. I'm going to start just talking a little bit about it. Again, I'm more familiar with personal experience with plantations that are here in Louisiana and some in Mississippi. I used to go a lot to Natchez, Mississippi, which has a concentration of antebellum homes. In fact, this weekend we're going to St. Francisville, which is near Natchez, even though it's in Louisiana, but doesn't have the quantity of homes that would, let's see, how should If I can read this, how should it go about interviews with NOLA? Something. LinkedIn user wants to know how about interviews with NOLA tech entrepreneurs. Would love it. We have, sorry again, I'm visually impaired, so it's hard for me to read that, but whoever that LinkedIn user is that's following us, if you are an entrepreneur, we would love to have we do nonprofit shows. We would love to do any type of business entrepreneurship, whether you're looking to just get exposure for your own business or your own passion. All I need you to do is contact us through any of the sources, either Bob at rrreview.net or through any of these not just Facebook, YouTube platforms, or here. Just give me the information where we can reach you for you to tell us who you would like to see or what other type programs. So we've got one thing on tech enterprises, which I think is, of course, is very timely and trendy today, and there's so many ways to go. My big interest is AI, even though I know nothing about with regard to the technical aspects, just the mystery of AI, and I know it's very controversial right now with regard to the pros and cons of basically morality or humanity versus the technological improvements that it would help mankind. Anyway, if whoever that LinkedIn user is, if they would pass that information to us, we'd be happy to put on. LinkedIn, of course, is very famous for networking, also for resume building or resume presentation, and obviously because the tech industry is so popular all around the world, it's a very interesting and universally appealing topic. So if you know of anyone that would love to get on, or if we can eventually start a talk show on that, again, just having you all call in if you don't want to appear on the camera, which everyone has their own feeling about that. But we can accommodate you two ways. Either one, when we start doing the call in, we'll give you the number. You just call in and no one will see you. They will hear your voice because you'll be asking questions or giving commentary. Or if you really want to have a protracted presentation or discussion, then you certainly can come on the show itself as a guest or even a co-host if you want to do more of those particular topics. And all we do is send you a link, and you click on that, and lo and behold, the magic of technology, which most of us are familiar with through the Zoom situation, but you can come back on. Now, and I started to talk about plantations when I got the request on tech. Again, I haven't seen any more information from that individual. I would love to follow up with him or her, and if that's the proper pronouns today, and see if we can move into additional discussion on that, and something with people with a lot more experience and expertise, me being an old person. Again, I have my own interest, as I mentioned, in AI, but I don't have a lot of expertise in that. So we need to talk to people like yourselves who deal with any aspect of technology that you'd like to discuss. I know I used to be a whiz on years ago on Excel before that became not a very complicated formula, but the basic rudimentary you needed to do. Now let's see, we have the person, and let's see if I can read. Another cool thing to learn about is how to have a vacation here in our own. Oh, that's good. You could interview Airbnb. Ooh, that's kind of touchy. Owners and locate hotels to enlighten us about what they can offer. LinkedIn user, may I ask, are you from here, or are you coming to us from outside of our city or our state? Let's talk a little bit about staycations. Of course, something I've been doing for years. I'll tell you, I was talking to someone this morning at the coffee shop I frequent in the neighborhood about how this time of the year, the first weeks of April, especially the second week, is like some of the best weather we have consistently in New Orleans, and also maybe around the second week of November. You get no humidity, and you have very low humidity, if not no humidity, nice temperatures. You might get a little rain, but perfect for a staycation. And I tell you what I used to do for years, in fact, when I was married, what we would do, one of our vacations, the November one specifically, we would do a staycation, and we'd actually find a hotel, maybe not for the whole week, depending on financial requirements or availability, but usually try, just like you'd go somewhere else, you have to stay in a hotel or multiple hotels, and especially ones that were near the quarter, because there was so much activity there. Not only my passion, of course, for food since day one, but also interest in art and all the rest of our city office. So what's great about it is whenever I see people on like Nextdoor, if you're familiar with that software, or just Facebook asking questions, people who are coming here, I try and give them a lot of things, because right away they say, well, what is there to do besides Mardi Gras? Because I mean that's in itself not New Orleans per se, just unique to New Orleans. But and right away, a lot of the responses center around, oh, you got to take a riverboat cruise. You got to take, got to have a. The only problem with that is that one, it is expensive. Two, it is prolonged. Not that you're not going to like it, but there are several other ways you can do it as less expensive, not least. And one of the ways I always recommend is, and it's changed over the years because of our evolution with Katrina, so I'm not totally familiar how to do it this time, but it's to take used to be the Canal Street ferry boat across the river over to Algiers, which is right across, and then back. Not immediately turn around, but get off. There's a lot of little restaurants and boutiques, and of course a lot of old New Orleans architecture right on the other side of our river in Algiers. It's part of New Orleans, and it really looks like New Orleans when you go over there. Now, not all of it, but certainly near the river. Found a great new French bistro there that we love called Tanti's Hand French Bistro, right near where the ferry lands. But what's good about the ferry ride, in the old days, it was both a car and a passenger and a bicycle for those ferry. The passengers would be upstairs, the cars would be downstairs. But two things. One, they would always let you, if you were in the car, get out of the car and walk around on the ground level, and the people from the upstairs can come down to the ground level. And the reason why you want to be on the ground level is you're so close to the water. So that way you can not only feel and hear and smell the water, but you also have a great view of the New Orleans skyline. So even though the view is only going to be limited to about 15 minutes compared to these 2 or 3 hours views on the riverboat cruise, and you don't get the jazz band and the calliope and the food, that not always up to par from your perspective, certainly not from a native's perspective. But it doesn't cost you much. You can turn around, I think the next 15 minutes, come back right away. If you don't want to go meandering around, if you're not adventurous to look around Algiers, you can certainly come on right back. The difference today is that I don't believe the cars are allowed anymore on a ferry, or maybe my old mind's getting mixed up, and maybe it's not the pedestrians. So you'll have to call RTA, look on their website, Regional Transit Authority, and they'll tell you all about the ferry ride. The cost is, it used to be free, but maybe $1.25 or something really absurdly inexpensive for the transportation. There's other ways to get to the West Bank over the bridge by car or bus, but certainly none as attractive. If anyone's seen the years ago HBO show called Treme, it was very dramatic, the ferry, in one of the episodes that featured John Goodman, and I won't give it away in case you've never seen it, but he's a local actor who made good, and he was very dramatic in that particular show. So that would be one thing. Another thing from a staycation, of course, cemeteries. Now, we take cemeteries for granted, of course, and the major cemetery that is advertised is one of the old New Orleans cemeteries that has the Marie Laveau tomb, which has been celebrated over the years, desecrated over the years, and so much so that no one can go in there free anymore. I believe you have to, unless I think if you're a resident, if you have a loved one in there, you may be able to get in. But now it's all run by tour groups that have permits to go in there. But I'm talking about one that's really on the neighborhood on the adjoining parish called the Metairie Cemetery, which years ago in the 1900s was a phenomenal racetrack. Anyway, that's a drive around. You can go all through there. Walking around is very large. But what's good about it is they have tombs that are unbelievable with regard to sculpture. There's a replica of the cathedral at ruins. There's a replica of a sphinx. A pyramid and a sphinx. There's the fabulous Madam's house. What I call it that is where the young girl is knocking on the door. There's a red light and a dog. There's several mayors, important mayors, farm, all kind of important people. Here's a wonderful coffee table book that I have from there with the photos of many of the well-known or sometimes unknown cemetery tombs, crypts. So, and because we bury our people for the most part above ground, because the water, the soil is, so wet, and for those who don't know, out in the boonies, in the rural countries in the west, whenever we have heavy rains or storms, many of the tombs, caskets that are buried underground will float up, which is just a unique thing, I think, in its own, because not only is there almost like cowboys lassoing the things, but then, of course, to reallocate that tomb and casket to the appropriate location in the cemetery from which it came, which is not always easy. So, again, not only get too morbid, but again, also with staycations and other tours, and there's a lot of walking tours in the quarter that are all escorted. There's some friends of ours, we've always wanted to do a show, too, on paranormal. We have a lovely contact friend who's a tarot reader and medium who's been traveling around the world for the last couple of years. So she's now reinstated her show where people can call in and get their tarot read or actually communicate with one of their loved ones, which is really fascinating. And some people don't believe it. I wouldn't disbelieve it till it happened on my own situation, and it was a little frightening, a little disconcerting. Let's put it this way. But also, of course, besides that, there's music. So many music venues, like coming up in a couple of weeks, Jazz Fest, and that, of course, is a phenomenal success. But also, you've got to have some big bucks for it. I'm sure it's well worth the money. I mean, for the quantity of performers and the samples of food that we offer. But the week before is the French Quarter Fest, which really became, for years, started off years ago, but not as long as Jazz Fest. And it kind of became the local Jazz Fest because it was free. And originally it started right in the French Quarter with only about 4 or 5 stages on different blocks. So it was phenomenally successful and fun. It's grown like everything in New Orleans, especially revolving around hospitality. And now it's on the riverfront, huge place. And again, I think it's free, but there's a number of vendors selling food and drinks. But because you have to go there, it's more like going to a concert rather than being able to stroll in the quarter or in the close proximity. Years ago, we used to have parades in the quarter. We still have 2 relatively new ones. One of them is the Crew of Boo, which is on the perimeter on week before Halloween. It's a lot of fun, a Halloween interest. But years ago, the parades not all, but some of the well-known parades went through the quarter before it became a fire hazard, and nowadays, because the floats are too large to get around the corners, to turn the corners. But even spring, like right now, Spring Fiesta would have a parade with the lovely debutantes and ladies in southern costumes throwing flowers. I guess today it's not a inclusive subject anymore, but again, they don't do it. The only ones down there now is Crew Boo. Also, the Italian American and the Irish parades have marching groups. Any kind of marching group of any nature usually gets a permit and can go walk through the quarter, if not other places in the city. So that's always fun. Museums, for those who stay. Of course, if you're a resident like Lincoln, you says they're here, so that's cool. If you're not familiar with the New Orleans Museum of Art and its Sculpture Garden, on Wednesdays, I believe it's still Wednesdays, is Resident Day. So all you have to do is have a Louisiana, I think, driver's license or proof of your residency here in New Orleans, and you get in free. And that thing has grown from a one beautiful old Greek Ionic building to double-story additions on the side as well as upstairs. Special exhibits on photography, which I love. Special floors on glass blowing, contemporary art, and they've added a lot. Like most of them have some type of restaurant, and they're doing some fun food right now. A lot of pokey type bowls, which I kind of adore because it's light, especially for that. They serve wine, and it's all glass, so you get to see outside at the park where it's located. So that's kind of a fun museum. Of course, everyone knows again the traditional thing is to push you to the World War II museum. I'm not a fan of it. It's not my interest mainly. I hate to say that, being a resident of the USA. But it's grown from one building to this humongous, expansive. So I'm sure it's well worth your money if you have that type of interest. But it is an all-day, if not more than one-day event. I don't like. There's very few places that I want to stay in one place the whole day. When I'm talking about like visiting a museum or some few hours, one is I can't do the walking anymore, but you don't hear my personal things. But and of course music. I used to go to some of the venues, and again my situation limitations don't allow me anymore. But there's music night every night of the week. Not only fantastic concerts at these big venues like Superdome or the Smoothie Center, but at little small clubs, honky tonk clubs all over the city that have some type of Tipitinas is of course again the most famous one. But any of these you can go, and some of them had admission fees, or depending on the artist or the newness or the popularity, it might not be. You just had to buy something to drink and or eat if they would serve such. But the other big entity is eating, and that is one of my fortes. I certainly have been able to eat. I've eaten out most of my life. Most people don't believe that unless they know me. So I'm fairly knowledgeable at restaurants. Um, we have some favorites, and of course, because my first appearance was on TV for 15 years with a show on restaurants, local New Orleans restaurants, we specialized in new restaurants. So as opposed to the alleged food critic who's getting near my age nowadays on the radio, um, I would give the advantage to a restaurant that was one day old up to 1 year. So, oh, have someone made any comment. We've been having some technical issues, so someone just commented that the video looks good. So I appreciate that because, like I said, we're trying to get reestablished. We want to make sure we've got all the kinks out so that it can be a result. Not that you're seeing a beautiful face here, not this old mug, but that you can see the guests when they have them and or what they present in a beautiful manner to supplement the discussion. Because that's the whole key with my platform's interest is to bring things of interest to you and have the discussion, but also the visual impact. I know text is always the most popular. People won't, they love to read a book or read an article, whatever. I grew up on the TV, so I'm also geared to live broadcast long before it became popular. But in TV, a lot of that individual stuff is, and also non-scripted. As you can see, I'm long-winded, so I don't have to have a script to do a show. Now, I like to know what topics I'm talking about, and usually I'll familiarize myself with them personally, whoever is coming on. But the key here is that restaurants, what we do is different, is that we're not here to give you a recipe or have a challenge, all that you can see on the TV food networks, and get those menus off of the individual desk, individual program in the morning, local TV that the chef's appearing on. We're here for you to see the finished product, about 15 to 20 dishes that the chef has to offer at his or her eatery or catering, so that way you can go ahead and give them a try, especially since they're new restaurants open every day. And whether out of their kitchens, like in Jamaica, or whether it's actual full brick and mortar store, etc. We welcome all because New Orleans variety of cuisines who are familiar that we have French, Spanish cuisine long-standing, but because we're also of Creole descent, well, I have a lot of the soul food, Haitian, the Asian, and not Asian, well, some Asian now, very much so, but Caribbean influence of Haiti especially. Those type of influences really sometimes go unnoticed because for years a lot of folk would not be adventurous in restaurant dining, other than what they grew up with ranch. But now we turn to Negan, which is out in Kenai. I don't know if you know where that is. If you live here, you do. It's not known for being a restaurant savvy. It's got a lot of restaurants, but usually it's fast food, and the palate of Canada is not really geared toward too much sophistication or too much broadening because there's a large Latin and some of the Asian community. That's been great for them because there have been a lot of new opportunities for these folks to set up. But again, depending on how broad they can get their exposure is the key of their viability and tenure. Indonesia seems to be from which is predominantly Thai food, and maybe there's some Asian from India, but most of it seems to be Thai based. But there's a couple of dishes on it I'm anxious to try, and we'll be trying that. As I mentioned that a little earlier, there's a wonderful new French bistro. It's a year old. I got in Algiers across the river. But we have a lot of places, and we can talk about that if we develop any type of ongoing relationship with you all that want to talk on that subject, with or without bringing the guest on. As you know, today everyone has a podcast or a blog, video, or does their own thing on TikTok or whatever, including the chefs and the painters. They don't want to be involved in this kind of format so much anymore. They don't want to be interviewed. They just want to throw themselves up there. They're mainly, for the most part, they're pics, and then hoping that something's going to meet your eye, that you'll be intrigued to enter a dialogue in that. And we have no objection to that, but at the same time, we like to do what we call in-depth interviews or reporting or shows. And again, I guess it's only old timers that really appreciate that. Most people want superficial, quick, and dirty, as I call it, Q&D. They want to go in, get out. The faster it is, seems like the better it is for today's interest. And I don't want to sit there and criticize that because I could really go on that, but that's a generational difference, obviously. And so we would love to be able to develop something ongoing. We're hoping we can get this relationship established with this lady from Louisiana and her contact in Mississippi to explore more of these, especially these homes that are no longer with us. We've had a couple in New Orleans that were here for years and they've been burned down, vandalized, etc., but also throughout our state and also in Mississippi. Now, I'm sure that happens to a lot from what I'm seeing. There's these Facebook groups, abandon this, even palaces from Europe and stuff like that. But we'd like to get into it with anyone who wants to talk about it or see some pictures of such to see if they'd be interested, if they want to visit. I'm not a big understanding of why people want to visit and especially go into not only dilapidated, but I'm talking about really dangerous type situations just for photographs, for whatever their purposes are. We've had a young student go, there's a huge plant, a former electricity plant, I believe a coal plant that's been abandoned for years, and someone about a year or so ago went up there with a bunch of young kids right and for whatever purposes fell to his death. So I'm not as interested in those exploration individuals who want to go to each room that is in usually terrible decay. I mean, I understand that it's a unfortunate result of financial situations, family situations, whatever the cause, but it's not something I certainly want to do a program on. I would much rather see talk about it when it was in its heyday, and or see pictures of it when it was in its heyday, as opposed to exploring the ruins. Now, some of these antebellum homes that have ruins, but also have magnificent gardens that are still kept up or still ongoing, and that's a beautiful setting. So, anyway, I'm talking a lot. I don't see where we've developed too many folks from any of the other platforms other than Facebook. Oh no, well, the LinkedIn, excuse me. Um, I do appreciate the LinkedIn user. What we'll do is we'll probably sign off from now because again, we never know when's a good time to come on. It's difficult, especially when you've been away from it, to know when people would be interested in viewing or talk, chatting, etc. on any topic. So if you catching this after the fact when it's recorded because it stays on YouTube under R space REVUE, that's our channel on YouTube, as it will only stay on the other social media platforms for a few hours, 24 hours at the maximum. But if you catch it later or something like that and you want to learn more about it, of course you can see a lot of our archival programs there on YouTube based on our channel. And for the most part, we take that word R review and we define the program by the first R, depending on what that would be, like restaurant review, the original. So that way it gives you an idea of what the topics will be in. So you can see a lot of our old stuff going way back when I was on TV as well as on the internet, which is a little bit more recent. Okay, well, until such time, I do want to thank those couple of individuals who did check in with us. And let's keep going back. We want to keep testing to make sure that the software holding up, especially sometimes others, but also to come and appear on the show if they would like to do such. Okay, until it's time, it's Bob Bockelman. Thank you for your time.